Mark has been on pins and needles for weeks. He's been meticulously planning every single detail of this day, their first anniversary. He is hoping to reach a major milestone in his relationship with Sarah. He's at a high-end jewelry store, agonizing over the selection. He's torn between a rather ostentatious diamond ring and a more chose a ring that captured Sarah's elegance without being too flashy. He's clearly thinking carefully about every detail of this proposal. Once he returned home, he needed a hiding spot that wasn't in plain sight. Knowing Sarah's complete lack of interest in baking, he decided that a bag of flour was the best place to hide the ring. He knew Sarah would never venture inside there. He tucked the velvet box deep into the powder, convinced that his secret was safe and sound. It was a clever move, but as we'll see, a bit of a gamble. Unbeknownst to Mark, Sarah has her own secret project. She's been working all day, productively trying to find the perfect gift for Mark. She wants something sentimental, but not too sentimental. She's managed to keep her poker face on all day, despite Mark's increasingly erratic and nervous behavior, popping in to check on her every 5 minutes. By early evening, the kitchen has transformed into a high-pressure culinary zone. Mark is sporting his rather ironic kiss the cook apron and is attempting to create an ambitious multi-course meal. He's juggling multiple pots and pans, trying to coordinate the timing of a complex sauce while his hands are stirring the pasta. He's getting a little bit over his head, but his determination is palpable. Sarah finally finished finding the perfect gift for Mark and wandered into the kitchen, wine bottle in hand, ready to unwind and celebrate. Mark was so hyper-focused on his culinary masterpiece that her simple hey sent him into a state of total shock. He practically jumped out of his skin, nearly causing a minor catastrophe with the boiling water. The air was thick with tension and the smell of roasting garlic. And that's when the anniversary fiasco truly began. In the split second that Mark was distracted by Sarah, a pan of oil on the stove reached its flash point. Suddenly, there are flames erupting from the stovetop. It went from a romantic evening to an emergency situation very quickly. Sarah was shouting instructions while Mark scrambled to find a solution. Mark didn't hesitate. He grabbed the fire extinguisher and let loose a torrential spray of white chemical foam. He managed to neutralize the fire, but at a staggering cost. The romantic ambiance was instantly replaced by a thick, suffocating cloud of white residue that coated every single surface in their once pristine kitchen. Just when they thought it couldn't get worse, the comedy of errors reached its climax. In their frantic attempt to assess the damage, Sarah inadvertently bumped into the open bag of flour Mark had been using. It plummeted to the floor on the way, creating a literal explosion of white powder that merged with the fire extinguisher foam. It was a total whiteout, an unprecedented domestic disaster. When the dust finally settled, they looked like two apparitions standing in a snowstorm. Mark's ginger hair was completely obscured by white powder. Sarah looked like she'd been caught in a blizzard. They stood there in stunned silence, surveying the wreckage of their perfect evening. Suddenly, a look of sheer panic washed over Mark's face as he remembered the ring's secure location. He began frantically excavating the flour on the counter. throwing handfuls of white powder behind him like a crazed treasure hunter. Sarah was utterly bewildered, watching her future fiance lose his mind in a pile of flour. And then, in the middle of that flour-covered wreck of a kitchen, Mark dropped to one knee. He didn't wait for a clean shirt or a fancy restaurant. He held up the box, covered in dust, and delivered a heartfelt, raw proposal. He admitted that while the night was a total disaster, his love for her was the only thing that was crystal clear. Sarah, moved by the sheer sincerity of the moment, burst into tears and gave him an enthusiastic yes. So the five-star meal was replaced by toast and a bottle of wine, enjoyed while sitting on a flour-streaked floor. It wasn't the polished, Instagrammable anniversary Mark had envisioned, but it was authentic. They realized that the silver lining to the whole disaster was a story they'd be telling for the rest of their lives. Talk about a memorable engagement. I hope you enjoyed this rather chaotic milestone in the lives of Sarah and Mark. If you're a fan of this storytelling and messy romance, please show your support by hitting like and subscribe to Momma's Fluent English. So that way we can get to our 1,000 subscriber goal. Every bit of support helps, and each follower makes a huge difference. I'm curious to hear your thoughts in the comments. Do you think a disaster proposal is actually more romantic than a perfect one? Or would you prefer a perfect one without any issues? Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you in the next episode for the wedding planning.